This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1654, Impromptu Comic Talk.
You got it on Wednesday, and you were psyched about it, going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From cakes to laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read. And comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Everly.
Comic Geek Speak.
And welcome to the show. Yes, I mentioned Impromptu Comic Talk because, we had something else planned for tonight and sort of fell through, so we decided to just sort of halfway through our waiting for something to happen to just start talking comics. So there is some talk on here of some spoilery nature on certain things, specifically like the Walking Dead comic of the last 3 or 4 years. We do actually have some discussion, I think somewhat minor spoilers for the return of Twin Peaks. We talk about some recent comics, including the Lazarus Contract, recently coming out from DC. Chris gives his thoughts on DC's recent Button crossover. We got Muddle the Murd. We got me rapping about comics in my room and all kinds of stuff. So it's sort of a random mishmash. Started out as one thing, evolved into another. But that's why the thing is always recording here. We're getting ready for these things.
You say mishmash, Matt says hodgepodge. What does Shane like to say?
I don't know. What does Shane like to say?
Does he say? I think he says potpourri, doesn't he?
Potpourri.
He might.
Yeah.
I say mulligatawny.
Mulligatawny.
A savory comic stew.
Oh, Murd. Perfect.
All right, so please enjoy our impromptu comic talk.
And a few years later, I ended up insulting
Hey,
him.
Chris is on the horn there.
Yes, I see.
Hello.
Ah,
Chris.
brothers.
Hello.
And now we have video. How's it going, Chris?
I'm doing all right. I'm sorry I couldn't join you last week, but I listened to the episode. I thought it was really fun.
It was a lot of fun.
How was your trip to Jersey, honey bun?
Oh, it was nice. Got to chat with Danny, get catch up for a while. We went to the diner, ran for dinner, and then we played not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 games of Rivals DC Deck Builder, Batman versus the Joker.
And how late did that keep you awake?
I was up to about 1 in the morning because, then Bill came home from his judging the Magic tournament at the store, and I had the Rogues crossover set. He's like, well, we're going to play Rogues? I'm like, oh my God, Bill, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I would love to play Rogues. But see, the Rivals is a head-on thing, which is
Probably wouldn't take quite as long
much
to
quicker.
play.
So Dan and I, knocked that out. We played 4 games. And the Joker won every one of those. He always beat Batman, no matter who played Joker.
Murd, how are rehearsals?
So far, so good, I assume. We haven't... within the next week or two, they'll intensify somewhat. Haven't done more than 1 or 2 per week so far, and things are still just sort of still gelling. But as we head into the actual month of the show, we're going to be cracking the whip a bit harder.
Chris, did you see Twin Peaks?
Did I ever?
So okay.
Yeah. No, you froze on me there for a second.
Okay. Yeah. How about that? I did not.
I can talk. Go ahead.
I did not know much of anything about the revival going in, but was quite surprised when I saw the log lady appear because the actress died in September of 2015.
Yep.
So he must have filmed this, well over a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago.
Well, at least her scenes. And it was poignant because you could see how sick she was in the scene she was in.
Yeah.
What did you think of that, Pants? Pants, that was pure on David Lynch, those episodes.
Yes, it sure was. Oh, my God. Wow. I'm in it, and I still don't necessarily know who's all going to appear in it. And that's fine. I'm just, enjoying the experience going on. I knew that the doppelganger was still out there. I thought, and
I think if you're not a fan of the show, you're not going to get into it because A, it's predicated on having a lot of knowledge of the show, and B, this isn't like the Twin Peaks show that was on TV. I mean, this is David Lynch having total control. So it's his style. I mean, talk about. I loved it, but I mean, you got to be patient. You've got to. I mean, it's not like a quick reward type of show. And I mean, to use a crass phrase, like it's fucked up. I mean, it's got. He's just giving you fragments, right? And you got to kind of be patient and see how they all come together. I almost forgot what an amazing filmmaker he is in terms of the visuals in that show, and also how incredibly frightening and scary his filmmaking can be. Mm-hmm. That was creepy.
Yep.
Numerous scenes, and I'm in all the way. I hope it does eventually kind of coalesce, though, and come together. Because people haven't never watched Twin Peaks, they're going to drop it after they watch that first episode easily.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. Very excited.
Yeah, I don't know if it's us or you, but we're missing like every 15th word you say there.
Okay, let me try this. I'm in my bedroom.
Uh-huh.
Let me go in the basement where I usually am, and maybe that'll be better.
Okay.
I'll keep the computer on as I'm walking, but
okay,
it could be that. I'll try that.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna have to descend into the Stygian depths of the basement. All right. All right. How am I now?
Well, I mean, say a few more words to the audience.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
I think we found you.
It's pretty good.
So I was out one night, and I came across this guy named Pants. And I was like, is that really your name? And he gave out this uproarious laugh that just lit up the whole room, and I knew right away, that's his name. And all was well with the world. How was that? How I sound?
Oh, it was poetry to my ears.
I was more concerned about... was my words cutting out, or
no? That was fine. That was fine.
Okay, good. I just read the Lazarus Contract, the first part, so I can comment on that.
Okay.
Star Wars: The Screaming Citadel, awesome. And I'm looking forward to discussing just briefly one of the best omnibuses Marvel's produced, The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, the best writing of Stan Lee's career, in my opinion. So, a few comments on that, and of course, The Button, the most dragged-out crossover in comic book history.
Was a teensy bit decompressed, wasn't it?
Oh my God. What was it, a year ago that Rebirth came out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, that's absurd.
So, yeah, the story basically just existed to refresh our memory on the little teases we were given at that time.
Yeah.
That said, though, there's still some things to enjoy about it.
Oh, I have some very positive things to say about it. I'm just, people have so many media distractions today. You're going to wait over a year to even bring out the next part of something. I mean, come on. I think that's silly. And plus, they barely even mentioned it in all the books intervening between Rebirth and The Button. Like it's barely mentioned in Titans, and I think that's it, frankly. Come on. Pants, back to Twin Peaks. They're doing 2 episodes every Sunday, right?
I didn't look anything about the schedule, but I see that next it did say parts 3 and 4.
Okay.
I don't even know how long it's going to be. I just have it in the TiVo to record every time it's on.
There's 18 parts.
18. Oh, wow.
All written and directed by Lynch.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic.
And except for McLaughlin, all the actors were only told their lines. They were not told the overall story.
I think that's the other thing I heard.
So only McLaughlin knows the whole story, basically.
Right.
That was intense, frightening, and exquisitely frustrating television. Did you like how they changed the Dream Man into a tree with a organic brain?
Yeah, that was
so bizarre.
Wow.
But what really captivated me was that New York room with that box.
Uh-huh.
That's all kind of frightening implications there.
And the way the story went, where you see when the guy went outside to the elevator, what happened when he was outside with
Yep.
And then when that box got filled up, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was. Oof.
Yeah.
He does horror very well.
Mm-hmm. And
not to mention that apartment bed. My God.
Oh, Oh, man.
Yeah, no ABC censorship on this show.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Whew.
Give the man free reign and the
Yeah.
time to let it play out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honest to God, he must have filmed this thing years ago.
I want to say it was done primarily last year, I think.
Well,
I'll
clearly
say.
some of it was done before 2015 because the log lady.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
And now, I tried to avoid clips, but I thought I saw a real quick clip with Gordon and Miguel Ferrer's character.
Yes, he filmed before he died too.
Okay.
Yep. And Albert's one of my favorite characters on the show.
Albert,
so
that's right. Oh my God,
Albert!
Albert.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad they were able to get him in there. So.
And I managed to find, going through some of my boxes, some of my old Twin Peaks books. I actually have the Diary of Laura Palmer.
I remember that.
I have the audio book of Agent Cooper.
Talking to Diane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like a guide and a couple other, another book.
Yeah, it was. I love the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Yeah,
but
the diary was written by David Lynch's daughter.
That's right. Yep. Keiko couldn't stay with me. She just thought it was too slow, and it was slow. I mean, it was definitely slow.
Yeah.
They're building something here. So.
Had she watched the original?
Oh yeah, she watched the whole thing.
Did you watch it as it aired or in rerun?
No, neither one of us did. I didn't catch on to it till after. I knew of it, but I didn't catch on till after it aired. And I watched it, let's say, a year or two after that on videotape, and then then let the videotapes to her, and she watched them.
Okay, no, I actually watched it as it aired.
Oh, you lucky duck.
Yeah.
Have you watched Twin Peaks, Mert?
Never in my life.
All right.
This is the 90s we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, I think you'd like it, Mert. It kind of exists in a ethereal, nostalgic, almost dream world with this terrible, dark underbelly.
Well, that's David Lynch in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, when you watch the show, the original show, you're not even sure, even the time period it's in, it's a little off. There's so many great details about it. Pants, I love the scene with the Horn brothers, by the way.
Oh, yes.
And how they're now profiting off washing, legalizing marijuana. That was great. That was a great touch.
And that was Ashley Judd was the secretary.
That's I was trying to place who that was.
I watched the credits and, oh my God, it's Ashley Judd.
Wow, okay. I should have known that.
There was 2 consecutive pages from a Don Heck drawn Flash issue from the early 80s that ended on eBay about an hour and a half ago. I was watching. The 2 pages got to $305 and with like a minute to go, and then it went to $627. So I was like, okay, I'm out.
What was your high bid? What was your top bid?
It would have been about maybe like $400, but I didn't get a chance to put it in because when I was going to, I was like, oh, it's just okay.
$400 for the 2 pages together?
Right.
That's really good.
Would have been my high bid, but I didn't even get a place because it jumped from $300 to $600 in a blink of an eye. It's like, wow, okay.
Do you own any Don Heck art?
I do. I own 2 pages of Hawkman that he inked in a Kite Man story.
Oh, fantastic.
Back in like 1988, something like
Something
that.
like that.
As a filler, I saw the new Alien film this past weekend.
I've never saw any of the Alien films.
And neither have I. Got the first 3 on VHS, but I've just...
Well, the first 2 are classics. 3 and 4, not so much. Prometheus is interesting, and this one, it was very predictable, but I enjoyed it. It was Ridley Scott, so visually it's dazzling. It was well done, but it was you knew what was going to happen more or less, but it was. And Michael Fassbender, that guy's a tremendous actor. Oof. So, but watch Alien and Aliens; they're both classics. Great movies.
Yep, I was waiting for a nice snowy day in winter, but we didn't get very many of those, as it turns out.
Yep. Not till March. So
yeah, really.
All right. Well, then while we're waiting,
I was under the impression we weren't recording.
I've been,
Sneaky.
Well, once again, it's time for Muddle the Bird. And once again, this is the penultimate Muddle the Bird because we had another Another entry sent in.
Yep, I just saw that in the CGS mailbag a few moments ago.
All right, so as we're waiting for something possibly to happen, we're going to just muddle on with our Muddle the Murd. Once again, up for grabs is the original nice piece of art by Jay Corum of Wolverine and a Jean Grey, I think. Well, the contestant for this installment is Devin James. He says, I'm a regular listener and thought I'd give it a go trying to muddle the Murd. I hope these are good enough to stump him on at least one question. I'll be glad to hear them answered all the same. Keep up the great work. Question 1, pre-1970s Marvel.
All right.
In issue number 5 of X-Men, what feature was removed from the appearance of Bobby Drake, a.k.a. Iceman?
Well, he originally was drawn to look more like he was made out of snow than of ice. So perhaps they began drawing him with a different texture, like the smooth ice skin instead of the snowy textured armor?
Chris, would you care to try this?
So I'm trying to picture him. So Murd's answer is wrong.
Yes.
Okay, because that was actually my first guess. So my second guess, because he first appears, he's just wearing boots. And Murd's correct, looks like a snowman. I'm going to say they're going to put briefs on him.
In issue 5, Jack Kirby removed his boots.
Oh, he removed his boots. Okay, interesting.
Right there, Chris.
I was so close.
All right.
So he was just a snowman then, with okay.
All right, question 2, 1970 to 2000 DC. How many centennial issues, like 100, 200, did DC publish of Action Comics from 1970 to the year 2000? Bonus impressiveness if you know the issues and years.
Well, I'm going to say 4.
4. You want to try for the dates approximately or not?
I can give you the numbers, 400, 500, 600, 700.
Yay! Okay.
Yeah, the dates I'm not going to come up with. I think Action 400 was the wedding of the Earth 2 Superman, wasn't it?
No, that was issue 484.
Oh, okay.
Jose Castillo Lopez drawn. The Wizard was in it.
Oh, I remember the Wizard. I've read the issue. I just don't remember the number.
One of my favorite single issues of all time. I love that issue. But no, issue 400 was in May of 1971. Issue 500 in October of 1979. Issue 600 in May of 1988. And 700 in June of 1994. And we're coming right around the corner next year to issue 1,000 of Action Comics.
Wow, that's right.
Well, this bi-weekly schedule it's on right now is helping to hasten that.
Yes, and of course when they completed the numbering, continued the numbering, and added the stuff from the New 52. Anyway. Okay, so question 3, 2000 to the present, Independence. This actually I love this question. This is a really good question. In Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead, no, of course, he says, can you name, I'm going to change it. What is the name of the first member of Rick's survivors group to die after joining up with the team?
Sewed up that loophole right there.
Yes, I did.
Okay, can you please repeat that question?
I certainly can. In The Walking Dead, what was the name of the first member of Rick's survivors group to die after joining up with Rick?
All right. Now, it's... I just saw an announcement on Facebook the other day that my friend Dan just celebrated his 10th wedding anniversary. And that tells me that it's been 10 years since I last read The Walking Dead, because that's... I can remember Matt was driving down there with Megan, his then-girlfriend, now wife. I was like playing third wheel in the back seat, and I was reading a couple of trades of The Walking Dead along the way down there because we were going to do an episode about it on the podcast.
We did an off-the-rack... We did a Book of the Month on the first trade.
And we did a Book of the Month follow-up, whatever we
did.
We used to call those episodes, which we haven't done them in a while. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've read this, so this is just going to be me grasping at straws here, but I'm going to say Dale.
No. Andrea's sister Amy is bitten in the neck by a walker and succumbs to her injury at issue number 5, which I believe is in the first trade.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, there's no way it isn't.
Right. That was a great question there, Devin, but unfortunately you did not muddle the Murd. So back into the queue goes the original art from Jay Corum, And again, there is one more one more Murder the Bird right now, so that at this time will be the final one. But so send those submissions in to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com.
And thank you for playing, Devin. You did get me
Thank you.
on 2 out of the 3 questions.
Right, 2 out of 3.
Great questions.
Ain't bad. So don't be sad.
All right, well, Chris, what's on your mind for things you've read recently then?
I want to talk about a couple things. Thank you, Pantaloons, for the opportunity. I'm humbled.
You're very welcome, sir.
I know you guys mentioned Titans of Lazarus Contract. I don't know if Shane was going to try that or not. I decided to give the first issue a try because it involves Christopher Priest and Dan Abnett.
Right.
And the Titans and Deathstroke, all characters I enjoy. I enjoyed the first issue. I don't want to spoil it too much just because it just came out, but just to say that it goes back in Titans history, all the way back in terms of their Wolfman Perez history, right to the beginning, with Deathstroke, and it's about Deathstroke trying to use the Titans to, shall we say, change the past. And I think this story has real potential. Again, I think I don't want to give away too much, but I think they're tapping into something that it's well written, and so far it is because it's Abnett and Priest. This could be a damn good Deathstroke Titan story because it's very much rooted in Titans history, the Wolfman Perez Titans version, and they're really tapping into that. And I always enjoy stories like that acknowledge, key moments, and then extrapolate from there. So that I recommend, at least the first part. I also tried the latest Star Wars epic from Marvel, Star Wars: The Screaming Citadel.
Okay.
Which is a new crossover event, 5 parts. Kieran Gillen's the writer, and I'm going to butcher this. I'm sorry. Marco Cicchetto is the artist. The story's by Gillen and Aaron. Now, anybody who read Darth Vader by Kieran Gillen, which is easily one of the best Star Wars comics I've ever read. Period. You should be excited by this. It also includes Gillen's creation, Dr. Aphra, who was a great villain in the Darth Vader series, Femme Fatale. Beautiful artwork, interesting premise. It's Luke going with Dr. Aphra to try to find possibly knowledge of a Jedi who was technically dead, but their essence has been maintained in sort of this technology, and they want to find that out so Luke can actually learn, in a sense, from this Jedi Master. Again, these are before the events of Empire Strikes Back. And again, I'm a broken record, but damn it, if praise is due, I'm going to keep giving it. Marvel continues to produce some of the greatest Star Wars comics in the hallowed history of Star Wars in the comic book medium. I've yet to read a Star Wars comic Marvel I haven't enjoyed to some degree. Some I think have been sublime. This one promises to be, at the very least, a hell of a lot of fun. I love seeing Luke, who's kind of the awkward farm boy, hanging around with a very sophisticated and devious woman. Beautiful artwork. There's a lot of aliens in this, so you'll enjoy that. I'll give you a lot of different creatures.
Oh, that is what I love most about Star Wars, Chris. You know me well.
Indeed. So that was really fun so far. I'm on board for that. And I'm really excited because I have here in my hands, Marvel released the third Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus, which is issues 68 through 104. The reason why I'm excited is because I consider this period the greatest writing of Stan Lee's career as a comic book scribe. And his whole career, I think, when he was writing Spider-Man in the latter 1960s, working with, again, each name was just pulse-pounding, John Romita Sr., John Buscema, Jim Mooney, Gil Kane, just one titan after another.
Yeah.
And Roy Thomas scripts issues 101 to 104 in here at the end. This latter Silver Age period of Spider is one of my favorite periods of any Marvel character published, period. Sorry to use the word period twice in a sentence there. And I just think Lee really had it down, just Peter Parker's voice, his world, his supporting cast. There's tremendous humor in these stories. Great subplots with Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy. These are great. I mean, these are great stories. You've got the drug issues are in here, for example, which we talked about in our Spider-Man Spotlights, 96 through 98. The first appearance of Morbius is in here. You've got Spidey in the Savage Land. The classic, and I emphasize classic, Stone Tablet Saga, which is issue 68 through, 76, I believe. And Merger recall the story of the stone tablet, which is supposed to create an elixir which can give you everlasting life. Great multi-part saga, which Marvel was really getting into as you get into the mid to late Silver Age. First saw that in Fantastic Four, of course. Spider-Man, they're continuing the idea of the multi-part saga. This is just, when you think about the essence of Spidey, for me as a reader, it's these stories as much as any other era. And I know sometimes people knock on Stan Lee, because having lost and so forth. He's at the peak of his powers in these stories. And he really has the voice of Spider-Man and Peter Parker down. And this is an omnibus I was waiting with bated breath to get. I mean, I had these issues in many other forms over the years, but now I have the whole thing collected in a beautiful hardcover. I can't recommend this enough. If you're a Spider-Man fan and you want to revisit these, you've never read Spider-Man, want to try, this is a great period of Spider-Man to get into. Can't praise it enough. It's Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus, Volume 3. Lee, Romita, Buscema, Kane, Thomas. There you go, one icon after another.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that you're enjoying is it the Lazarus Contract? Is that what that was?
Yes, yep.
Because when that was solicited, I was reading at that point Titans, because it had Wally West, which is really your only place you're going to get him post his appearance in DC Rebirth.
Right.
And again, he's one of my favorite characters of all time. So I did read the first 7 or so issues of that. I think up to issue 8, like the Made in Manhattan or the Manhattan storyline. I forget what it was. But when I saw the crossover, it's like, I'm not buying Deathstroke. I'm not buying Teen Titans. This is a good place to jump off. So, but maybe I don't know. I'll respect your opinion, Chris, and just have you tell me about it going on there.
Well, Corduroy, let me tell you, understanding where you're coming from, I don't think you really need to have read Deathstroke to enjoy this, because you know the premise of the Deathstroke character, you know his basic history, and especially when it's tied into the Titans, if you know that, you have enough to enjoy this. At least this first issue. And by the way, Pans, if you want Wally West, he takes center stage in this issue too.
Okay. Because
so
I did remember you mentioned that this goes back to the beginning of Wolfman Perez, and I think in issue 2 of the new Teen Titans is when Deathstroke appeared for the first time. So it goes right back to about the beginning.
You're getting warmer there, honey. I don't want to spoil too much.
Oh, okay. Well, I may have to look for that. You see, now I was trying to cut back.
See, this is what we do to our listeners all the time. It's only fair we should do it to one another.
Damn it, I hate
Serpent
that.
consuming its own tail, as it were.
Another book I want to mention I'm really enjoying is Infamous Iron Man by Bendis and Malev. It's Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom, apparently trying to atone for all his crimes by taking on the mantle of Iron Man and acting as a hero. As many listeners know, I'm a hardcore Dr. Doom fan. We did a whole spotlight on the character a couple years back. And Bendis has it down. And he's doing a really great take on Doom apparently trying to be a hero and the repercussions of that. And Wade is also addressing that in Avengers as well, with the so-called infamous Iron Man character. And they're getting into Doom's history about his mother. I mean, it's really, really well done. Again, I don't want to spoil too much there either, but if you're a Dr. Doom fan, definitely check out Infamous Iron Man, because Bendis has Doom's voice down and just his whole persona, but recasting it in this sort of fascinating but unfamiliar situation where now Doom is, quote, trying to play the hero, essentially. Really, really entertaining book. So I recommend that as well. Listeners, I remember the post in the forum once, they wanted to know our reading lists. And I have to take some time because I got to think about all the books I'm reading, and when I do that, I'll announce that in a future episode. Because I don't have a list in front of me, I got to sit down and actually go through everything. But my list is, even though I've cut back some, my list is still pretty extensive, and I'm looking forward to discussing that in the future.
Well,
so
maybe in future previews episodes, we'll just make it a point to quick rattle off everything we're buying from the major publishers. And
you see, ladies and gentlemen, that's why Brother Murdo is one of the wisest fellows I know.
Oh.
Well,
you give me far too much credit, Chris. You really did.
Nonsense, friend. Nonsense.
I can go through what my current pull list is to DCBS. Now, I can't say I've read everything up to date, but this is my current pull list. Animosity. I'm a little far behind in my reading from Aftershock Comics. Archie. I could just caught up with that. Absolutely loving Archie. Now, again, it's written by Mark Waid. It's the updated Archie take. And it's interesting because they've had many different artists on the book. It started with Fiona Staples. You threw in, I think Veronica Fish was on the book. Right now it's Pete Woods. No matter who's on the book, it's still wonderful. Mark Waid tells a great story, and there is a sort of a continuity to it. I'm just really enjoying that.
I'm glad to hear Pete Woods' artist is a part of this.
Yeah, he's a good artist, very good artist.
Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Batwoman, Betty and Veronica. Well, I'm not sure how far behind that is. Captain Kidd, again from Aftershock Comics, Mark Waid. A little behind in my reading for that. Jessica Jones.
Oh, tremendous title.
Unfortunately, I haven't even started that because I wanted to, my working through it, I have to catch and read Alias first, which I should do anyway. I did read the first...
Bugle Boy, come on, you got to get on that. Jessica Jones, one of the best titles Marvel's producing.
I know. I read the first arc of Alias, and have all the issues, but just haven't done that. But I'm still getting that. Josie and the Pussycats, Jughead. Oh, Jughead is just a lot of fun. Oh, that's a lot of fun book. I added Mighty Mouse, which hasn't come out yet, but I'll be getting Mighty Mouse. Mighty Thor.
Oh.
I'm a little behind in my reading for that. This is be a trend. So it's like I'm buying the books and I'm reading them. Motor Girl, however, that's just about the first book I read every month. I get it, although I didn't read issue 5 right away, and there was a solicit for issue, I think, 7, and it spoiled something in there, so I remedied that and never read issue 5. Again, Terry Moore, enough said with that. Paper Girls. I'm actually a little behind in that. Surprise, surprise. Rough Riders 2. Again, and they're Aftershock. That's 3 Aftershock titles I'm getting.
Mm-hmm. They've got some good books.
Yeah. Saga, of course. Sex Criminals.
Woo!
Silver Surfer, which I did talk about in the most recent issue, issue 10.
Indubitably.
And again, that's also right at the top of my pile. Underdog, which hasn't come out yet. Looking forward to getting that, as well as the free comic book day issue went along with that. And Walking Dead, which I am still getting more or less out of habit. I'm maybe 2 or 3 issues behind, and at some point I'm going to decide whether I'm going to keep with it or cut bait, All
right. Murr, do you mind if we spoil a little bit of Walking Dead for you reading that book?
I have no idea when I'll get back to reading it, Chris, so I'll just take off the headphones for a second.
Okay. Pants, I just wanted your opinion, because I've intimated about this on the air before, because I dropped Walking Dead because I thought the book totally jumped the shark. Mm-hmm. And you're only a few issues back, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, spoilers to those people who are not caught up on their reading Walking Dead. We're going to talk about some developments. I dropped the book after Rick spared Negan.
That's right. I remember you told me that. Yes, correct.
I haven't spoken about it openly yet. I'm glad we could talk about it. What did you think about that, first of all?
It did really... I wasn't fully invested in that whole story. I really hated him for what he did in the book. And obviously you have very strong feelings about it. I don't, but
okay.
He's continued to be a presence in the book. Presence.
Oh, what a shock. Okay.
And I mean, we mentioned spoilers, but he got out of his confinement.
Oh, what a shock that is.
And was you weren't sure what was going on. Then there was a twist I didn't see coming, but seemed to be like pure Negan. And yeah, I know you have more strong. See, I'm sort of like, I just read the book and can't really, as you can see, discuss it that well. Can't put my words together. Use your words, Pants. So,
for Pete's sake.
but yeah,
go ahead. No,
I was going to say, so you dropped it. So what do you want to say about that?
Well, because I've read the book from the beginning. I always enjoyed it. I mean, I think Robert Kirkman's a great visionary. Mm-hmm. I think he's a very good writer. I don't think he's in the class of a Brubaker or a Rucka or people that I often praise in the show. But I think he's a solid writer. Having said that, I started to feel like Walking Dead needed to end. Of course, it's not going to end because it's a cash cow because of the multimedia and everything else.
Certainly.
And is it Negan or Negan? I always forget.
You say potato, I say potato.
All right, so when he murders Glenn
Yeah.
in front of his wife. Okay? And this man is a vicious sociopath of the first order. And he killed one of your closest friends in front of everybody in the most brutal fashion one could imagine, essentially, because this wasn't like a quick death for poor Glenn. And so your whole community is threatened now by this monster, essentially. And y'all dehumanize him because he's written as a monster. And you finally beat his faction. You're going to leave alive this person who murdered your friend in front of his wife, but let's even put that aside for a minute. As the leader of this community, because we don't know what's happening in the outside world, why the zombies are there, are there other communities? For all you know, this is it, essentially. You're going to leave alive this vicious sociopath, or whatever, I'm using the wrong psychological term there, I apologize, but obviously a bad person to the nth degree. You take him in the back and you put a bullet in the back of his head, and that's the end of it, okay? This whole, we want to show we're better than you. I'm like, okay, look. This is all a cheap plot device so they can have this guy later get out, which you just confirmed, and then cause all kinds of trouble. I was like, all right, I need to cut back on my comics. I've got, Ed Brubaker stuff over here I can read, or I can read this jump the shark moment. So I was done with Walking Dead at that moment. I mean, it's grand scheme of things, it's not important. It's just my meaningless opinion, but I felt it was very lazy storytelling. I felt it was a cheap way to create a new plot device with this villain. And overall, I enjoyed Walking Dead. I enjoyed how it shows these people trying to survive in this extraordinary circumstance and the kinds of terrible choices they'd have to make. But it felt very silly, very forced, and totally not in keeping with what I thought the book, as much as you can have with zombies, the kind of more realistic tone the book had up to that point. You don't leave someone like that alive. Are you kidding me? No. So it was easy to drop the book after that. So that's my take on that.
Well, I know you've been wanting to talk about that for quite some time.
Yeah, well, I don't want to spoil it for Shane because I know he's...
Oh, no, I understand. And, a lot of these, some of these books, eventually, if I realize I'm not digging them or reading them, I'll drop them. Sometimes it takes a lot for me to drop a book. And, I mean, it's only $1.79 through DCBS for me to keep getting it. And, honestly, if I ever wanted to, sell them, a lot of the back issues, they command a pretty penny.
Oh, yeah?
On the black.
I think the time to sell those. I think the time to sell those was maybe a year or two ago when the show was really at its zenith of pop culture sort of significance, for lack of a better phrase. I remember I came across a couple early issues in a collection I bought in bulk. I sold those for a pretty penny. Now, personally, I think that's silly because I don't know. I'm always a little dubious about more recent comics selling for really high numbers because. Right. A lot of that's generated, and this is a whole other discussion, a lot of that's generated by the multimedia fervor that, you really got to know what you're doing because eventually that's going to fizzle out.
Right, exactly.
So,
well, that's
you got to sell or buy at just the right time, and some people have that ability.
That's a great segue because this past weekend I was up in New York for a day to have some meetings with some friends, and discussing about that, I'm a pack rat with my comics. I've got so many of them. I like to pare down my collection, but it's difficult. You sure could put them on eBay, but deal with the packing, the fees, and that kind of stuff. But sometimes you really have to be tuned in to what's hot and move things at the right time. You know this clearly more than anybody else on the show here, and I'm just not that savvy to pull a trigger and get rid of those things. I mean, I'm hearing things like a lot of the Adam Hughes Wonder Woman books from several years ago are really hot right now. I should probably look at moving those. For a while, the Batman New 52 books were really hot. I mean, issue 1 commands. Yeah,
it's a high price book.
Maybe 3 digits.
You're talking the Scott Snyder one,
the Scott Snyder.
Okay.
Well, because it's the first Batman one since 1940 Batman one came out.
Exactly. And I have sold a few books. But not very many but now I really need to look up. And that's the other thing. This past weekend, in getting ready for what I was going to do in this episode, I was trying to find some comics that my database said, oh, they're in this box. Well, great. Well, guess what? I found that box, but then they weren't in that box, like I said, so I need to organize my comics, and I got so many of them. It's not your problem. It's my problem, but it's like... Because now...
Well, let me tell you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, because I go through phases where it's like, ooh, I want to read that. Like we talked about Hyper Time. And I was trying to find the Superboy issues, issue 60, I think 65 of that Hyper Time story. And it said, oh, guess what, Pants are in box 34. Oh, my God, what? There's box 34. Oh, it only issue up to 30. What did I do with the other one? So I couldn't find that. But I did manage to find The Kingdom, where that was first brought up
exactly.
in Hyper Time. So I found that, the crossovers, and I forget the character. That's not a rip, not a...
Yeah, that's Hunter.
That is Hunter, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a reimagining of Rip Hunter as a member of the time-spanning Linear Men.
Right, where he says...
They kind of turned him into Cable for a while.
Exactly. Where he says, Hyper Time, the vast, interconnected web of parallel timelines which comprise all of reality.
Grant Morrison.
Mark Wade.
Wait, Mark Wade did that?
It was Morrison's idea, but Wade wrote the comic in which it was introduced to the world.
Idea. I thought
it was Morrison's idea.
Mm-hmm.
Help me out. I'm not sure I knew that. Where did that come from?
Well, it's I'm not sure where I read it, but it was the idea was originated by Morrison, and then Wade put it into practice in this couple issues story.
I'll be jiggered. But the 2-page spread preceding that comment was this thing of we talked about like Easter eggs in the button.
Oh, yeah.
Just chock full of Easter eggs. You know, Bronze Age, Silver Age. You know, there's Red and Blue Superman. There's Captain Carrot, you see. There's Bizarro. There's the Wonder Girl, Wonder Baby, Wonder Tot from Wonder Woman way back in the 60s. There's Commandy. There's the Tangent Flash. On and on. But there's Batmite in there. So that I found. I also found my trade of legends and things. But there's just certain things like I want to read. It's like, oh, my God, where the hell are they?
If you ever need to borrow the other issues of that Superboy Hypertension storyline.
Hypertension, that's correct. That's right.
I got them all, don't
they're in there somewhere.
Pants, based on what you were saying, a couple things, if I may.
Absolutely.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah.
I want to mention I'm still really enjoying the Commandy Challenge.
Okay.
I'm a couple issues behind on it, but really fun. Each creative team, of course, leaves Commandy in a certain situation at the end of the comic. The new creative team has to pick that up with that situation and get him out of it or so forth. Really entertaining, creative. A lot of top-flight creators working on the book. I recommend that. And I'll give my thoughts on the button if you don't mind as well.
Yes, please.
By all means, do.
Button. Who's got the button?
Chris has.
Thanks, brethren. Again, I really love the episode you guys did, and that was really entertaining to listen to. Bravo. My take on the button is I think is similar, falls in the ballpark of where you guys are with it. I enjoyed it overall. Easily the high point for me was the Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne encounter. I actually found that moving. I thought that was beautifully written. Who wrote that issue? I forgot.
That was Joshua Williamson with assist from Tom King.
Okay, I thought it was beautifully done. You really felt just the sort of the torrent of emotions Bruce was trying to navigate as he encounters his father. I thought it was very well handled. I loved just the drama of Thomas Wayne then running into what we established, it's probably not crisis antimatter, but running into that white light, sort of this dramatic finale for that character. I just thought those pages, that portion of the story was extremely well handled. I thought there was real pathos to it. Beautiful writing. So Mr. Williamson, Mr. King, bravo on that issue in particular. As always, and you guys made a great point, and I caught it as well as I was reading it. I really enjoyed seeing Barry and Bruce work together as forensic experts. It was really well done because you don't see it that often. You saw a little bit in Justice League: The Dark Side War when they go into that apartment where I think Steppenwolf had murdered a couple. And they're both investigating the crime scene. So that was a joy to behold. And otherwise, as I said to you guys off the air, it's kind of funny because this is like one of the longest crossovers I've ever seen in that. They've let a year go by, and except for a little bit in Titans, they haven't even mentioned this thing at all. And it felt that great Bruce Thomas interaction aside, and the great Barry Bruce interaction aside, it felt kind of like a placeholder to me. I wasn't surprised to see Dr. Manhattan's hand. We assume it's Dr. Manhattan at the end, of course. I think you guys mentioned, I agree, I wouldn't be surprised if he is not actually the prime mover of this event. If there's something else going on, that'll be interesting, if that's the case. I thought the artwork was gorgeous. Fabok, right?
Yep, Fabok and Howard Porter.
Yeah, I've always liked Howard Porter. Both did a wonderful job on it. The scenes with Thawne, like when his body's literally coming apart, that was beautifully done. Powerful imagery. I enjoyed it. But, when is the next part? November, I think?
Yeah, that's Doomsday Clock.
November. Okay, so I'm certainly along for the ride. I'll definitely read it when it comes out. But I'm kind of back and forth as I debate this in my head. Like, is it good dramatic effect to drag this out, or are people kind of going to forget about it because so much time has passed in between these events? And I'm interested to see when they get to this Doomsday Clock story, is it going to encompass the entire DC universe? Are they going to bring in, all the characters? Because you would think this would have, just a seismic impact on everything. That remains to be seen. It's almost like DC's trying to like build something like Marvel does with its movies. They're trying to do it here with this comic, with sort of these long stretches of time in between the stories. But we'll see. But in the grand scheme of things, not much really happened in this story in terms of this overall possible saga with the Watchmen. But I was more interested in those subtle character moments between Barry and Bruce and between Thomas and Bruce. For me, that's what made the story really worth reading. Otherwise, it was like, all right, it's a placeholder. So that was my take on the button.
Okay. Well, more times than not, I trust Jeff Johns in comics.
Oh, absolutely.
In comics, so we'll see how it goes. All right, and what do you have over there, Mr. Murdo?
What I'm holding in my lap right now is something that arrived on our doorstep a little while ago. It's from a listener named Tony Palmieri. We've had some correspondence with him in the past, and he sent another package our way. And the letter enclosed, addressed to me, actually. Adam, hope this small box of goodies finds you in good health. A couple of these I assumed you needed. I work at A Hero's Legacy Comics in Manchester, Connecticut. While I was digging through boxes upon boxes of stuff, I came across an extra little book I hoped you don't have and would enjoy. If you do have it, please pass this one on to a library or someone you know. Hello to the rest of the gang.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Thank you.
I've been a long-time listener. I hope to meet you guys someday. I can't thank you guys enough for so many hours of entertainment and escape you have given me. God bless. Sincerely, Tony Palmieri.
All right.
And,
Thank you, sir.
Chris, he has sent some issues of Christopher Priest's Black Panther in the past.
Oh!
And lo and behold,
Tony!
that's what's in this box, too, among other things.
Oh.
Let's see. It's issue 41, 43, and 36. And, it's a paperback copy. Oh, it's a beauty, too.
Oh, my.
Of The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, perfect for Mert.
Yeah,
Tony, wonderful gifts.
Yeah, it's published in 1956.
Wow.
That's a nicer paperback copy than what I've got at home, actually.
It sure is. Look at that.
Yeah, so thank you very much,
I love
Tony.
the illustrations on the front and back as well.
Oh, yep, by the original illustrator, Mr. W.W. Denslow.
Wow.
That's very thoughtful, sir. Thank you so
very
much.
cool.
Yep, full-sized black and white plates inside.
All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, we'll wrap up this impromptu behind the scenes / on front of the scenes / miscellaneous potpourri, what have you episode.
Speaking of placeholders.
Well,
Gentlemen, I'll hold a place with you anytime, my friend.
Sometimes things fall apart, and you just got to talk amongst your friends. All right, and let's see if Adam, are you ready for this?
Absolutely not.
If you'd like.
If you'd like to send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, you can call 267-702-6642. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle there is @ComicGeekSpeak. We always invite people to visit our forum on the interwebs. It's thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. You can go to leave feedback for this and many other episodes of our podcast. Let us know what you thought about our discussion topics. And you can also join in discussions of your own with your fellow CGS listeners and comic fans at that website. We'd like to give special thanks to everyone who sends us presents, for one thing. And who also... presents! Yes, there it is. And who also donates monetarily to the show. Really appreciate it. Couldn't do the show without you. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
You got it on Wednesday, and it was like about it going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From cakes to laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read. And comics, movies, games, toys, artists, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek speak, comic geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is Comic Geek Speak.
All right, let's do a quick opening. This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 16. Oh, what the hell am I going to call this episode? Random mishmash. I don't know. What do you think? Help me out with the title.
Just plain old comic talk would be fun.
Okay.
How about Comic Talk, the mini edition? I don't know, Mini-Me Comic Talk?
Or
Comic Talk Provisional.
how about impromptu comic talk?
Great. Love it.
That works too.
Okay, we'll do that. This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1654, Impromptu Comic Talk.